Well, joining me now, retired Lieutenant Colonel Jonathan Conricus, former spokesperson for the Israel Defense Forces, now a senior fellow with the Foundation for the Defense of Democracies. Jonathan, good to talk to you again.
Good night to you. Good morning from Israel.
So the Supreme Leader is dead, as are, according to the IDF, several other senior Iranian leaders. The Israeli strikes, to our knowledge, are continuing, though. What is Israel's objective, then?
Israeli strikes are indeed continuing, and just now there are incoming missiles towards central Israel. I'd say around 4 or 5 million Israelis have now been rushed to bomb shelters as per standard operations. Iranian assaults on Israel continue. I think that the objective is to significantly weaken the regime, its security forces, specifically the IRGC, and all of those branches of the Iranian government that have been busy trying to destroy the state of Israel, support, fund, and arm Israel's enemies, Hezbollah, Hamas, Islamic Jihad, the Houthis, and others, and perhaps, hopefully, to provide the environment that will be conducive for the Iranian people to take back their country.
Okay. Israel has superb intelligence inside Iran and has proven that it does, given its targeting not just in these strikes, but in previous strikes last year and before. What are Israel's assessments, then, of the Iranian people's ability to take the regime down, right? Because it's quite a tall order, given what Iranian protesters faced in recent weeks in a bloody crackdown by this regime, many thousands killed. Is it Israel's assessment that can happen, that a ground roots, organic, popular rebellion can take this regime down?
I think at the end of the day it is. Had it not been so, I don't think Israel would have bothered to, launch a war against the Iranian regime together with the U.S. And bottom line, I think Israel assesses that with enough external help, the brave Iranian people, which has taken to the streets, faced some of the most brutal repression that we've seen in modern times, yet come out on the streets again and again and again in millions, including just a week ago. I think that the assessment in Israel, based on people that Israel has on the ground and people that Israel liaises with, and kind of an assessment of the sentiment, I think Israel understands that what the Iranian people needs in order to be able to rise up is just a little bit of help. And to be frank, I think Israel and the U.S. have provided the Iranian people with a lot of help, and Israel continues to strike regime targets, IRGC, Basij. Currently, what Israel is focused on is suppressing Iranian missile fire. That's the number one objective for the Israeli Air Force as we speak. So most of the assets are going there. But once that target will be achieved and most Iranian missile launchers will be struck, which I think is a work in progress and there's good progress on it, I think Israeli fighter jets and other military assets and probably Mossad on the ground will divert more assets towards centers of command and control of the regime, Basij, IRGC, and others, in order to make that possible.
But let me ask you this, Jonathan, because the U.S. president says that he's still open to the possibility of negotiations at some point, that perhaps the regime will be so weakened that they will be willing to sit down at the table. It does not sound like Israel is interested in such negotiations if the intention is to. And by the way, President Trump has been encouraging the Iranian people to rise up against the government, too. I just wonder how those two goals can live together. Is it bring the Iranians to the table, or is it destroy the Iranian regime and bring it down?
Yeah, I think you're right. There is a slight difference here. And I think that the Israeli perspective is one that is a bit more binary, because the state of Israel and Israelis see the Iranian regime, of course not the Iranian people, but we perceive the Iranian regime as a lethal enemy and a threat to our very existence. As such, the room for negotiations and diplomacy from an Israeli perspective is less. We also understand that there's the U.S. Perspective, and we also understand that that perspective is the dominant one. So if if there's a scenario where parts of the regime will go ahead and say, okay, we relinquish nuclear weapons, we are going to stop funding Hamas, Hezbollah, and the Houthis and others, and we're going to stop building ballistic missiles. Now let's sit down and negotiate.
Right.
I'm sure that the president will look positively towards that. Maybe Israelis wouldn't be, really happy about it, but that's maybe something that's palatable. But at the end of the day, Israel wants to safeguard itself. It wants to defang the most dangerous and lethal enemy that it has in the region. And so far, I'm happy to say that that is going pretty well.
Jonathan Conricus, I'm sure it's not the last time we discuss. Thanks so much for joining.
Thank you, Jim.